Alrighty, if everybody wants to make their way back, we're going to have our keynote for today. Our keynote speaker is Chief Inspector Kerry Blakeman. And before I start, if anybody is missing a set of keys, they're out front at the table, so check if you're locked out. Kerry's a 26-year police veteran and has served in a number of public-facing roles, including a response in neighborhood policing, mainly in the Coventry area in West Midlands. He is currently responsible for traffic policing across West Midlands and also responsible for the Safer Travel Team and policing in Birmingham Airport. With a keen interest in social media, particularly video platforms, Kerry has been at the forefront of trying to show the public behind the badge policing. In the first of its kind in the United Kingdom, Kerry has broadcast numerous police operations live from the streets of West Midland. He's split his presentation in half, from what I understand, and we'll take questions in the middle. So if you have any questions, write them down and be prepared for that, and I'll turn it over to him. If you guys welcome.
Good afternoon, SmileCon in Tampa. Greetings from Birmingham in the West Midlands. Sorry I can't be with you this afternoon. SmileCon number 9 in Tampa. We're really looking forward to SmileCon number 10 here, hosted by West Midlands Police between the 9th and the 11th of September at the Tally-Ho Conference Centre. If you fancy a trip over to England, full details are available on the smileconference.com website. First of all, thank you for the invite to speak on behalf of West Midlands Police. It would have been better if I'd have been there in person. I like to actually see what the audience are actually doing, well, to check if you're still awake. I'm very conscious that I'm the last speaker of the day, and I hope you enjoy what I've got to offer. I'm happy to take questions either using the hashtag SmileCon, or actually we'll pause for a bit of a break at about halfway during the presentation. So I've got TweetDeck open so I can see if there's any questions that are coming in. So very shortly I'm going to switch over to a screen share, and I'll talk probably for about 20 minutes about some of the work that I've been doing. So can everybody hear me okay? Yes. That's good. That's good. What's the weather like in Tampa? Okay, it's raining here in Birmingham. Okay, let's see if we can get this to work. We'll do a bit of a screen share, and hopefully I'll get my PowerPoint presentation up and running. Okay, can you see that on the screen over in Tampa? Okay, so this is a bit of a journey about West Midlands Police and how we've enhanced public trust and confidence using social media. Just a little bit about your speaker, just so that you know who I am and what I'm about. As I was kindly introduced, a veteran of 26 years policing service, a broad range of policing experience, predominantly in the uniform area of business. I'm genuinely passionate about policing and public engagement and being held accountable to the public that we serve. And I joined Twitter back in 2009. I'm currently a Chief Inspector in charge of traffic policing, as I've been introduced, in the West Midlands, and also have responsibility for policing at Birmingham Airport.
He needs to. Hey, Kerry.
Hi, Laurie.
Would you please put your presentation up on presentation mode so the slide is bigger?
Okay, let's see if I can do that. Yep.
Lower left corner, see those 3 little buttons? Click the third one. That one. Yep. Nope. Right. Next one. That one.
That's what it was on, Laurie.
Yeah, that's the best we can do.
How's that looking?
Now we see all your slides now. Do you have a slide, a pull-down menu at the top that says slideshow?
Let's have a look. Yep, slideshow.
Okay, just say from the beginning.
How's that looking?
It's not coming through on our end. What are you seeing on your end?
I'm seeing a full. Let me just see if I can go into presenter mode then.
It may be that we're just not caught up yet. You can just go back to the way you had it.
How was that looking, Laurie?
And nothing's changing on our side. We see all kinds of slides.
You're gonna have to redo your screen share.
Redo my screen share, yeah? Right.
Should have kept my mouth shut.
Hey, it's always good to have technical problems.
You just froze.
Hmm?
You just froze.
Just do it exactly the way you did, Carrie.
Sorry about that.
Just bear with me a second, Scott. Just talk amongst yourselves, we'll get there. Right, here we go. Scott, how's that looking?
Yeah, that's good. Go.
Okay, so do I need to start at the beginning again or go to the third slide?
Third slide.
Okay. Is everybody still awake? Okay. One of my roles and responsibilities is I have responsibility for policing at Birmingham Airport. The airport, in the last 12 to 24 months, has received a number of injured casualties, British soldiers that have been flown into to Birmingham Airport and are then moved on to the local hospital, the Royal Centre for Defence Medicine. And you can see in the picture there one of the military planes arriving at the airport. Can you see that okay, Scott?
Email me your slides. Just keep talking, and at the same time, email me your slides, and I'll play them on this end.
Right. Okay. That's multitasking. Men are renowned not to, to be good multitaskers.
They're good now. We can see it.
Can you?
Yeah.
Is that in full screen?
It's good.
Right. Tell me what you can see. Can you see 3 pictures, Scott?
Yep.
Okay. The problem is I can't move through the slides, if that makes sense.
Email them to me.
What can you see now, Scott?
Same. Person with a bandage on their head and a police car.
Okay.
And 2 little slides.
Right. I think I know what's going on there. Okay. Let's see what we can do. Right. If I just stop the screen share, Scott.
Stop the screen share, email me your slides, and I'll just flick them for you here on this end.
Yep, and we can do it that way. Can I send them to Laurie's email address?
Yeah. If you look on your chat on the right-hand side, I put my email address.
Oh, good man. Let's have a look. Okay. Scott, I will do my best, but it's rather a large file. I might have to go to somewhere like Dropbox.
No, it should go.
Okay, you're very confident. You enjoying those nice smiley cookies? Have we got some of those at SmileCon?
Not yet. They'll be out tomorrow.
Are you just seeing me at the moment, Scott?
Yeah. So just keep talking, and I'll put your slides up as soon as I get them. Catch you up.
Okay, right, that's okay, as I thought, Scott, that is, the file is too large, so I'm going to have to go with a plan B. Can you just see a picture of me at the moment?
Yes.
Okay. I knew I should have come out to Tampa. I knew it was... Let's see what we can do. I'm just trying to upload this to Dropbox, so I can then give Scott the details. You've had some really good speakers today. I've managed to catch up with, I think, Laura's presentation. There won't be any Call Me Maybe videos in my presentation, I'm afraid. And also an interesting input. I enjoyed the input from Julie Parker about taking control of your message. Okay, it's uploading, Scott, but it's going to take about 5 minutes. So, how to fill for 5 minutes? What can we talk about?
Can we put it up the way you had it? Just temporarily.
Let's see.
Show your screen again and just do it the way you were until I get here.
Okay, let's. I'll do my best. I think the thing is, because I'm actually uploading the file, I'm not sure if it will allow me to upload and present at the same time, but we will give it a go. Let's see. Right, what that is actually doing is not opening not opening all of the pages because it's halfway through the upload. Well, sorry about this, everybody. It's always the way. Technical things are always sent to try and test us. Scott, I'm just going to try and send you a message in the chat.
Just go with your presentation with the slides, and I'll catch it up for you when they arrive.
Okay. Right, so you can see me. Is that correct? You can see me at the moment?
See you and hear you.
Okay. Right. Right, so I'm in a position now where I can actually see my first slide, but everything thereafter I can't see. So there you go. Talk about doing it what we call on the hoof, and you'll have to rely on me. Got about 3 minutes left in relation to the upload. So Scott, I'm just going to hopefully send you a message which has got all the details of my Dropbox, yeah? So you can get those details. So very shortly.
Okay, just keep talking. We'll be able to hear you, not see you, and
Okay.
be good. Okay.
So Scott, I've just told you where the file will be, and should be something coming through to you there in terms of the necessary. Okay, have you got that, Scott, now?
I will in a minute.
Yeah, we have it, Kerry. You could just continue with your presentation and he'll catch the slides up.
Okay. So you'll have to bear with me because unfortunately I've only got the very first slide, so I will have to do everything off memory. So we will take it from there. So social media and the police. In 1829, Sir Robert Peel founded the Metropolitan Police, and there were a number of key principles that Sir Robert Peel founded British policing on, commonly known or referred to as Peelian principles. One of those Peelian principles gives rise to the saying that the police are the public and the public are the police. Now that is something which basically states that as a sworn officer, as a police officer, I'm an ordinary member of the public that carries a uniform but is given additional powers. Those original Peelian principles of 1829 are still resonant today in the social media era. And another reference to the Peelian principles talks about trust and accountability are absolutely paramount. Now, throughout the years, trust and accountability has been gained by traditional police officers patrolling the streets, the Bobby on the beat, as I think most people in the delegate room will know them as. So Bobbies would talk to people, street corners, and we would have neighbourhood meetings as well. And I'm sure that's the same the world over, that local law enforcement agencies meet with their public, listen to their concerns, and understand what are the issues that affects their locality. And usually the police will meet with the community and work with partner agencies to actually solve problems. Now, as a neighbourhood police officer for a number of years, I used to love going out and meeting with my local community. But for me, it was always the same kind of people that came to the meeting, and those people were not representative of the whole community. Scott, just to let you know, that file has now uploaded, so are you able to log into it?
I'm working on it right now.
Okay. So we talked about building trust and confidence with local communities, and for me what was really important was that I really wasn't engaging with everybody that from my local community. It was great to see what I call the same usual faces, people who had got a real passion about their area. But back in 2011, I was at home when I saw my daughter with a laptop, and she was talking to the laptop, and I said to her, what are you trying to do? And what she was actually showing me was a picture of Harry Styles from One Direction. Now, the last time I mentioned this in a presentation, the press said I'd modelled myself on Harry Styles. Can I just say, for the record, I did not model myself on Harry Styles from One Direction. What I was actually seeing was that Harry Styles was actually trying to engage with his fan base using Twitter, and it was using a camera that was linked to Twitter, and my daughter was actually after a bit of a shout out from Harry Styles from One Direction. So I thought to myself, well, actually he's trying to engage with his fan base, and I thought, well, actually how could I use that same technology, Twitter that is linked to a webcam, to try and broaden my appeal, trying to get the views of other people from my locality, predominantly young people. It's really difficult to try and get young people engaged and come to community meetings. So as a result, I set up a webcam in my dining room, which I affectionately known as Studio One. The reason I did it in my dining room at home was that I had problems with the broadband network at home. Sorry, at work. Problems with the broadband network. Wasn't fast enough, wasn't wide enough. Can I just say I'm not a technical kind of person. But what I managed to do was I managed to publicise the fact that I was going to have a video conference via Twitter. And amazingly enough, on my first broadcast, I managed to get about 25 viewers, and various kinds of questions were coming in on social media. And the main thing for me was that it was actually young people that were asking questions of me. One young lad actually said, well, I think there's a lot of problems with drug dealing in the area. You know, can more be done to combat this? And that's something that ordinarily we would have never actually have been able to have done with a traditional community meeting. So that started off in my dining room, and I've got a long history of working with partner agencies, and I've got a really good relationship with the fire service in Coventry, where I was the local policing chief inspector. And I met up with a gentleman called Simon Shilton from West Midlands Fire Service. And what we actually did was, from my dining room, is we actually did a live broadcast talking about policing issues and also fire issues. So Simon had the real opportunity to be able to get some really good messages out in terms of fire safety, making sure your smoke alarm was tested. And what we did was we used hashtags, which hopefully most of you should all know about. We used hashtags so that if members of the public who were watching wanted to ask us a question, then they could do via social media. So it was a kind of a two-way interface using video, very much as I'm talking to you now, very much on the hoof.
Kerry, your slides are up.
Okay, let's have a look. Let's see where we are.
Tell me what slide you want. Right now we're on the one of Dan Barton.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one with regards to just a bit of the content. So I'll talk about my work to do with video, which I've already started. And actually, I think you refer to them in the States and Canada as public information officers. Well, Dan heads a team of staff from corporate communications, and they've obviously done a lot of work that I will talk about. So I'm really grateful to Dan for his leadership around the team that do a great job day in, day out in terms of engagement and relationships. So if we can move on to the next slide.
Facts are up.
The facts are there. Let's have a look. Let me just see if I can, now that file is uploaded, Scott, let me see if I can just open it here, because I can just about see the contents of the slide there, and let's see if we can get it open. Okay, so we're on the slide with Dan Barton. Yep. Okay, so the facts. Are we on the one, West Midlands Police, the second largest police force?
Yes.
Okay. So when I come to the end of the slide, I'll say next slide, please, and we'll take it from there. So West
Perfect.
Midlands Police, second largest police force in the country after the Metropolitan Police, and we police an area of 348 square miles, covering a population of 2.8 million people. And the region sits at the very heart of the country with three major centres of Birmingham, Coventry and Wolverhampton. We have 7,700 police officers, 3,400 police staff, and 700 police community support officers. Next slide, please, Scott. And that should show you a little picture of where we are. We're at the heart of England, right in the centre of the country. Next slide, please. So we've talked about Sir Robert Peel. I think I've covered that already, Scott. Next slide. And just to go over the fact of Peel's most quoted principle, the police should maintain a relationship with the public that gives reality to the historic tradition that the police are the public and the public are the police. If you can move on to the next slide, please. And I've covered all of the points in that slide. If you can move on to the next one. So you should now see a screen with all of our key areas: Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Flickr and Instagram. Next slide, please. Talk about my journey using video platforms, how I've used my home broadband, and actually how we use smartphones to record video and then upload via a 3G mobile network. Next slide, please. So I've talked about Mr. Styles there. Next slide. And that's the slide that I referred to. That's one of my original broadcasts. Can you see that slide okay, Scott? TwitCam, February 2011?
Yep.
Okay, so as you can see in the bottom left-hand corner there, 25 viewers and TwitCam linked to Twitter, and some questions that came in from a young a young person there to do with drug abuse. Next slide, please. There's a picture of Studio One, as I referred to it. You can see the very technical setup in the early days there. Can everyone see the Amazon box with the laptop on it? So, and that was using my home broadband network and my police radio, and Simon is to my right, who would talk about fire service messages. Those are the very early days of partnership working. Next slide, please. So what we did was we took virtual to meet reality. So we tried it in the dining room, and actually what we were doing here is we were holding on-street briefings with members of the public, and we would invite members of the public along, notify them that there was going to be a public meeting, and we'd also broadcast live. And what we were doing here was we were tapping into local Wi-Fi from business. When we explained what we were doing, they were really happy to support us. Next slide, please. And this is myself and Simon again in the Charlesmore area of Coventry. Please make a note of the name Charlesmore, and I will come back to the Charlesmore a little bit later on. Next slide, please. And moving on, I've used TwitVid. TwitVid was a platform that was linked to Twitter and would allow us to use video. But back in those days, that was a case of recording the video and then uploading it later on. I don't know if delegates have actually heard of a platform called Bambuser. Bambuser is an app that you can put on your smartphone, and using either a 3G or I think you refer to it as an LTE network, you can actually broadcast live from anywhere there is actually a good signal. And what we've done is we've used it at large-scale public events to give updates. Next slide, please. Bambuser has been used very effectively by West Midlands Fire Service at the scenes of major incidents and large-scale fires. A lot of the senior officers actually act as press officers or public information officers, as you would call them, and actually broadcast messages direct from the scene of large-scale incidents. And I think Julie Parker made reference earlier to taking control of your message. What a great way to absolutely, get your message across to your followers, whether it be via Twitter or whether it be via Facebook. Next slide, please. And this is just a bit of a link to my Bambuser page. If I'd have been there in person, what I would have been doing is that I would have been playing you little video clips just to try and break it up, just to try and interact with you rather than you just have to listen to me talking all the time. And I'm really conscious that you're having to do that now, and Scott's helping me with the slides. But what I have done is I've scheduled a number of tweets which will tweet out following this broadcast concluding, which should be at 5 o'clock your time. And what I've done is, using the hashtag of SmileCon, is I've tweeted out various links. So delegates, it's entirely up to you. If you wish, if you've got an interest in any of the content from my presentation, it's entirely up to you. If you wish to have a look at it, please feel free to do so. If you want to ask me a question, then you can do at Kerry Blakeman on Twitter. Next screen, please. Hopefully, in the conference room, you can actually see a picture there of Simon. Bonfire Night is the 5th of November, and it commemorates the Guy Fawkes attempt at burning our Houses of Parliament. I can't remember what year. I wasn't very good at history. But what that night, the 5th of November for us in the police service and also the fire service, is an extremely busy night. That picture there was taken using Bambuser. You can see the absolute quality there. And what we did was, on Bonfire Night, myself and Simon worked our way around the Coventry area, and we updated all of our followers with what was happening. And I will tweet out the links to some of the Bambuser videos afterwards. How are we doing, Scott? Everybody still awake?
Yep, we're good.
Okay. Next slide, please. So now we're going to move on to Google Hangouts. Obviously, this is a Google Hangout. Next slide, please. Now, hopefully, all the delegates know who this gentleman is. And no, I'm not modelling myself on President Obama, but actually, I took the view that, if President Obama and his team could actually do a hangout from the White House, then actually why couldn't I take that same philosophy, that same principle, actually out onto the streets? Next slide, please. What you should be seeing there is a picture of my MacBook and an iPad, and what I've been using is a portable Wi-Fi hotspot. With the passage of time and technology moving on, my Wi-Fi hotspot is now LTE, or 4G, as we call it here over in the United Kingdom. Next slide, please. And this was about 18 months ago. I did a live hangout from a drink drive operation around Christmas, and very much as delegates can join, you can actually see my boss, who was sat in the warmth of his home whilst I was out in the freezing cold streets of Birmingham carrying out a drink drive check. But again, using Hangouts, actually broadcasting to the public, showing them what police officers actually do day in, day out. Next slide, please. And again, taking the same kind of message, not just from a police service, but across all of the emergency services. Police, fire, and ambulance. Drink driving wrecks lives. Actually, it doesn't just affect the police, it's firefighters that have to attend and cut people out, and it's ambulance staff and paramedics that have to attend also to treat people. Next slide, please. Talking about trust and accountability, one of the things that the public either love or loathe, as the case may be, is speed cameras. And actually, speed cameras are shown to bring speeds down, unsurprisingly, and speed is actually one of the greatest contributing factors to fatal accidents, not just in the United Kingdom, but I would imagine all over the world. This is a picture of Chief Superintendent Sally Borner. We did a live hangout. Behind Sally is a speed camera van, and we also brought out we invited to the scene a lady who had lost her son as a result of a speeding motorist. So you kind of got that message about how residents find speeding important, actually how and why we target speeding motorists, and also bringing the mother of a lady whose son was killed by a speeding motorist. Next slide, please. Probably our biggest challenge was back in June 2013, and that was our WNP Live. 1,500 live viewers, and what we actually had there was a series of mobile devices that joined. So there was my old boss, my chief superintendent. We had firearms officers. That's Stu Manley, who you can see there, who joined from his patrol vehicle out on the streets of the West Midlands. We also had live streaming of the police helicopter footage. So that was the first time that we'd ever done that. So what we called the heli telly, the air link, members of the public were able to see that. And again, using a hashtag, members of the public could ask questions of all of our officers. And 90 online questions. Next slide, please. That should be a blank slide. Is that a blank slide, Scott?
Yep.
Okay, next slide. And just recently we broadcast, again using Google Hangouts, live from Crufts, which is the biggest dog show I think in the world, and we broadcast a live police dog demonstration. Okay, next slide, please. What you should be seeing there is a picture of the London riots back in 2011. And I've put a really important message, and it's probably one that you've heard before, but I'd just like to emphasize it, that you just can't engage during times of crisis on your social media platforms. You have to build trust and confidence, and people will follow you. Next slide, please. You should be seeing now a number of tweets. Whilst I was the Chief Inspector of Policing in Coventry, there were a number of concerns about what was happening down in London, and word started to spread in Coventry that there was riots and there was disorder. And you could see that my followers were actually asking questions of me. And I think the third tweet that there was that actually people saying just follow Kerry, and you know, there's lots of rumours flying around on social media, and he will separate fact from fiction. Next slide, please. You should be seeing a picture there. So bearing in mind it was saying on social media that there were riots in Coventry, I don't know about you, I can see a fountain and I can see two people sat on the fountain edge, and everything else looks pretty hunky-dory to me. Now, back in its time, that was cutting edge, that was, actually posting a picture via Twitter. But what it allowed us to do, it allowed us to actually show the public, not just in 140 characters, but actually a picture of what it was like in Coventry to actually dispel the rumours. Next slide, please. You should actually be seeing a picture of a burning van. That was in the Charlesmore area of Coventry, one of the same areas that I'd previously broadcast from. Scott, if you could move on to the next slide, but not bring up all of the transition. Can you just click on the first one for me?
Yep.
So the first one should say, "I apologise for misleading information." Is that correct?
Yes.
So what we were doing during the disorder is where we were getting false information posted by people on Twitter, we were saying, no, you're not right. And I actually got a couple of apologies from people. So those are actual tweets. The second one, Scott, please. And is that the one that says, I've just handed, is it just seen 6 hooded youths?
Yep.
Okay. One of my followers that night, instead of dialing 999 or 911 as you would, actually tweeted into me that she'd seen 6 hooded youths run down a particular road and then cut down a path towards Charlesmore in Coventry. Scott, if you could flick on to the next one.
Yep.
The same follower also handed over some petrol bombs that she found in the Charlesmore area. As a result of her tweet, I was able to dispatch resources to the area, and as a result a car was stopped which found a number of petrol bombs in it. And Scott, if you go on to the fourth one for us, please. You should see a screenshot there of a West Midlands police tweet, and Coventry rioters were jailed for 14 years. What they tried to do is they tried to copy what was going on down in London. Yes, they petrol bombed a car, but actually they were soon brought to justice thanks to social media. Scott, if you could flick onto the next slide for me. And there are the 4 men who were jailed for rioting in Charlesmore. So it just goes to show you, build a following, build a reputation, establish, you know, a real honest voice, engage with your followers, have honest conversations, be held accountable to, you know, to your public, and actually in return they helped us and brought some offenders to justice. Scott, can I ask you to flick over to the next page for us now, the next screen, and that should be the coming up page. So thank you for putting up with me filling in for about half an hour. Apologies for some of the technical glitches at the beginning, but we actually got there. Are there any questions from the floor about the use of video platforms so far? What I'm proposing to do very shortly is move on to some of the work that West Midlands Police Corporate Communications Department have done. Are there any questions at all?
Any questions?
Nope. You got a full room here. No questions.
Are they awake?
They're all awake. I think they like your accent.
Okay, right, fine. If you're happy to carry on, if you could tweet me using the hashtag SmileCon, then at least I know you are awake. Right, let's move on, Scott. We'll move on past to the any questions, and we'll move on to the Twitter slide. Are we good to go?
Good to go.
Okay, West Midlands Police has more than 200 individual Twitter accounts. That is more than any other police force in the world. The combined number of Twitter followers to all of our accounts exceeds 450,000. The 200 plus Twitter accounts include specialist departments, my traffic team, the Central Motorway Patrol Group, Highway Patrol as you know them, Safer Travel, as well as senior management. Our Deputy Chief Constable has just joined the Twitter clan, numerous police officers, police community support officers, and special constables. Special constables are volunteers who give up their time. Next slide, please, Scott. Police dogs and puppies always win the hearts and minds of the public. And the main West Midlands Police account is the third largest in the United Kingdom with 98,400 followers. And we've got an active team within the corporate communications who regularly tweet, broadcast, answer questions. No good just broadcasting, pointless doing just broadcasting. You've got to respond to questions from the members of the public in a timely manner, and that will help build trust and confidence. Okay, moving on to the next slide. Thanks for that tweet, Laurie. Solihull Police, 30,000 followers, and Birmingham Police, 25,000. Two of the largest divisional police accounts in the United Kingdom. Scott, if you could move on to the next slide, but don't click. Let me know when you're good to go.
Good to go.
Okay, if you click there, I'll read this out. This tweet from Solihull Police. Anyone lost a huge amount of cannabis in the Chelmsley Wood area? Don't panic. We found it. Please come to the police station to collect it.
That's awesome.
And you can see why that actually got something like 22,000 retweets. Scott, if you could click onto the next slide for me, please. And again, let me know when the tweet's up.
What's up?
48 cans of Red Bull stolen from the BP garage, Chester Road. How do these people sleep at night? Now, I know you're all awake. That is fantastic. So you can just see by just engaging with the public in a slightly different, a little bit more human way, how actually you can develop your followers. Next slide, please, Scott. Inspector Michael Brown, mental health cop, is the most followed police officer in the United Kingdom with more than 20,000 followers. I'm pleased to say that Michael Brown will be a guest speaker at number 10 Smile Conference in Birmingham between the 9th and the 11th of September. Mick is really passionate about issues to do with mental health. He's made connections all over the United Kingdom, both from the police service, probation, health, and worldwide. And we're really looking forward to hearing Michael speak at number 10 Smile Conference. Next screen, please. And West Midlands Police YouTube channel is the most popular in the United Kingdom, with almost 5,000 subscribers and more than 1,000 more than any other force. And our total videos have been viewed more than 6.5 million times. I think following my video being live, it might actually decrease, but there you go. Next slide, please. Okay, this is using Google Plus Hangouts in conjunction with YouTube to live stream from several community meetings. Again, either using a Wi-Fi dongle and either a laptop or a remote webcam. Coming back to my original community meetings, 5 or 6 people at the meeting. Actually, do you know what? Broadcasting it live, publicising it to the local community, using a hashtag, we're getting more questions online from members of the public than we are face-to-face. Now, face-to-face, engaging with the public is absolutely the cornerstone of British policing, and that will never go away. Yes, we need to be out in the communities, we need to be visible, but also we need to be listening to our communities who actually don't necessarily need to come out from the comfort of their own home, but they can ask questions about their local area. If you could move on, Scott, please. And West Midlands Police also on Facebook, third most liked police page in the United Kingdom with 58,000 followers. And it's grown, its likes have grown faster than any other UK police page. And if you could move on, Scott, please. Instagram, I don't know how many law enforcement agencies are on Instagram. Certainly the demographic in terms of younger people now is to use Instagram, actually, and also tag lots of hashtags. Next slide, please, Scott. Our corporate team have created infographics. I don't know if any law enforcement agencies have used them at all, but if you could move on to the next page, Scott. Just a little bit of an idea around an infographic, different ones that are available, just some fascinating facts that are published each week, which talks about what's been going on in the West Midlands Police area. Next slide, please. Cover It Live. We've used a number of web chats which are text-based, don't involve video, so they're online chats. but you can actually see that we've reached more than 30,000 people through a series of online web chats, which is another great way of engaging. You move on to the next slide, please. Any fans of 24 in the room? Not many shout-outs for 24 there, but actually 24 has just gone live here in the United Kingdom. Jack Bauer is actually in London, where he's fighting against attack against the president. We saw that as an opportunity to actually go behind the scenes of the counter-terrorism unit, something that really is normally quite taboo. But if you can flick over to the next slide, Scott. We featured joint operations with MI5, which is the Secret Service. We gave an insight into specially trained forensic officers. We talked about covert surveillance. We showed never seen video before, and we obviously used the hashtag WMCTU. And it concluded with a live web chat with our head of counter-terrorism unit, who was prepared to answer questions from the public. Thank you, Scott. If you could move on to behind the crime. This is something that we did last week. Really, really great initiative, and I will tweet out the links after my presentation. The idea behind it was actually to show a member of the public actually what happens from the moment a call is received to say that there's been an incident, a serious incident, which led to a murder. And we followed a bit of a timeline. So if you flick over to the next slide, Scott. So we used the hashtag BTC murder, and you can see there that we actually played a sample 999 call or 911 call. If you flick over to the next slide, we looked at profiles of all our staff. So there's Emily, who's one of our call handlers. So we used a profile there. If you can flick over, Scott. So a constant feed throughout the 48 hours of what's going on, using a different number of platforms, whether it be Instagram, photographs, YouTube. So we're talking there about the fact that a call has been received, we've sent uniformed officers, the crime scene will be cordoned off, and we will appoint a senior investigating officer to lead the investigation into that murder. If you could move over to the next slide. Again, using YouTube to explain the roles and responsibilities of each of the members of the team that actually investigate a homicide or a murder. Next slide, please, Scott. There were 419 tweets in relation to Behind the Crime murder, and it peaked at 227 mentions. We had a number of increased views of YouTube videos, and really, the whole aim of it was about just getting the public to have a better understanding of what goes on behind the scenes. Lots of crime dramas are really popular on mainstream television, but actually understanding what it's like from a real perspective in terms of policing. And we're just coming on to the last couple of slides now. Scott, if you could move over for us, please. So at the top, it's the so what are the benefits of engagement on social media? We've conducted independent research from young and old followers, and also people that don't follow social media. And there is an overwhelming evidence base which says, you know, being engaged on social media will enhance trust and confidence with the public. It is the human side, it is real as opposed to virtual. The public love the police, they're interested in what we do. We've received superb feedback, reached new audiences, and improved trust and confidence. And if you move over onto my penultimate slide, if we go back to those original Peelian principles from 1829, trust and accountability are paramount. Now we have an ideal opportunity to demonstrate that trust and accountability in the virtual world, using all forms of social media by being engaging, open, honest, and showing the public their police service, because that's what it is, it's the public's police service. Then actually, if we do that, the public will trust us, they'll understand what we do, they'll be more willing to come forward to help solve crime and to help us prevent crime, which no matter where we are in the world, that is what we are all about. Thank you, Scott. On to the last slide. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your time in listening to me. I'm sorry that it hasn't been as slick as I would hoped it would have been, but I'm really happy to take any questions now, either via the video link or on social media SmileCon.
Hello, Carrie. My name is Shannon Giles. I work for the Pentagon Force Protection Agency in Washington, D.C. I'm just wondering, how large is your social media staff? It seems like you're putting out a lot of stuff. So I'm just wondering how many people it takes to do what you do.
Shannon, good afternoon. Do you know there was one thing that I meant to do before I come here, because I thought, do you know what? I'm going to get a question, and do you know what? I'm genuinely sorry. I don't have those details to hand. But are you on Twitter, Shannon?
He said, "Are you on Twitter?" He doesn't have the answer.
Yes, I am, but I'm under my agency's Twitter account. It's the P as in, well, yeah, there you go, Paul, PFPA, F as in Frank, P as in Paul, A as in agency. So the PFPA?
The PFPA. I
Yeah.
give a commitment that I will tweet you tomorrow with the relevant details of the team. You have my assurance. I will do that for you tomorrow, Shannon.
All right, I've already started following you, so it's...
Oh, never mind.
Okay.
Thank you.
Another
Anybody
question?
else with a question? I don't believe this.
Yes, we got 2 questions over here. I'm just walking over with the microphone, Carrie, and
Yeah, I've got one from Aaron Holloway, Pacific Cop.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to ask. So.
Oh, right, okay. So a question there. Hi, are you from New Zealand?
Yes.
Hi, how you doing? We do not supply our officers with laptops or smartphones, whether they be Apple or Android devices. Most of my staff are quite happy to use their own data allowance. So it varies. They use their own device, BYOD as it were, bring your own device, and that they use Apples or Androids. Does that help, Aaron?
Yep. We also have another question from a gentleman that just tweeted at you by the name of Alex, and he's from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police in Moncton, New Brunswick.
Let's see if I've got Alex's name there. Has he done it under my name or under SmileCon?
I put your name on it, and it's under #SmileCon.
Maybe Alex can just ask the question.
I'll just ask the question. In terms of using infographics, what's the reaction to it in terms of getting information out about your police service, and does the general public respond favorably to them?
Yeah, it's something that the communications team have only just started. Probably been going for about 6 weeks, I think. And I think really what it does, it's just a snapshot of activity. And again, when Julie was talking earlier on about taking control of your message, you're actually getting your message out in an infograph. So we've done such things as how many calls we've received, emergency calls, how many people have shown interest in being recruited to the police because we've just opened up recruitment. You name it, any kind of figure, any kind of message that you want to get out, the infographics have been received very well. But as I say, it's early days for us, but it's just something that I'd like to share with you.
Any more questions?
Yeah, I've got a question on what do we use Instagram for? From Mount Pleasant Police Department. Are they in the room or not?
Yep, they're right here. Mount Pleasant's right back here. I'm just going to bring him the mic. And
Come on,
you got
Scott, run.
Robert here from Mount Pleasant Police Department.
Are you using it just for pictures of to reach another base, or are you using it for reuniting stolen property or anything like that?
In the main, still photographs. However, our corporate communications team have actually gone out on police raids. So you get forgive me, I'm sure you probably already know this, but under Instagram you can actually do a length of video as well. So we've actually featured, small snippets of live video and posted them to Instagram, and actually using the hashtag police, different hashtags. But I think really the main reason for getting onto Instagram is just that young demographic, so that the younger people understand what we're up to and what's going on. Does that help?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Just for the information of the people watching, the technology that Carrie's using right now, the part where we had the technical difficulties, as soon as this video ends, we're able to actually clip that part right out. And so anybody that goes and watches this won't have that the painful delay there, and they'll be able to get his message that he finally got out. So you can't be scared to use this technology that he's doing.
No, and just to emphasise that, Scott, if you worry about what might happen, then you'll never take the plunge. There have been times where the Wi-Fi's fallen over. There's always going to be some kind of technical, glitch. But the more you use it, the more you get into it. It is just a great platform to absolutely to engage with the public. And just to emphasise the message, you need that trust and accountability in the virtual world now as well as the real world. And I'm sure there's been some great examples in day one on SmileCon, and I'm sure there will be over the next 2 days. Just before I sign off, just to check if there are any more questions.
We don't have any more questions in the room, Carrie.
Okay, I'll just check on the hashtag to see if there's anything more there.
If you just want to we'll turn the video off, and I'll turn the webcam around so you can see everybody, so that we're not on YouTube showing everybody.
Okay.
All right. So we'll end the video.